Hey folks, welcome to the first episode of the Stormwing Knights Sigmar battle reports. I figured our first battle report we would do would to show you guys how the game works and how to play a match. So we have our map we set up here. Maps can be set up either way. You can either set up a map like we've done here, or you can actually roll off on a table and decide how many pieces of terrain are on the map. That's at a player's discretion. That's up to you guys. Doesn't really affect much. All it really affects is certain areas. In the basic rules, is saves go up by +1 for units occupying bits of terrain, like the forest over there or the rubble here. What you do with your players is you roll off to see who decides how to split the table. And the player that rolls higher divides the battlefield, and then the opponent picks one half of the territory, some of this and such. So territory can be split either diagonally across long ways or across short ways. It's really up to you, the person who wins the roll. So in this case, the skeleton warriors won, so they decided to split it long ways. Then the opponent gets to decide on sides, so the high elves will take the fortress, because why not? Then you alternate setting up units one at a time, starting with the earlier dice roll winner first, which is the skeleton player. So just so we can hop into the important stuff. So he will set up a unit, followed by us, the high elves. So let's get rid of those guys. Let's try this again. So those guys there, and so on and so forth until both players have set up all units in their army. And so Tomb King player set up and finished before I did. So he gets to decide who takes the first turn, which probably in his best interest, being just all melee to... Well, are the elves in range? No. To have the elves go first, so they either have to leave the cover or whatnot. So whoever sets up first, you get to decide who takes the first turn. So each turn is broken up into 6 phases. The hero phase, where you will cast your spells and use your heroic abilities. After that is the movement phase, where you will move your units across the battlefield and so on and so forth. The shooting phase comes after that, where you attack with your ranged weaponry. So in that case, I will be attacking with archers and such. After that is the charge phase. So in Sigmar, unlike 8th edition, you can actually shoot and then charge into combat if you're within range, which is pretty cool. After the charge phase, combat. So you take turns back and forth piling in, making attacks, and then you decide who's going to run away with the battle shock phase at the end. So we'll start the game, turn 1, with the hero phase for the high elves. Now, let's see. So our skeleton... so first up is the hero phase. So you can have your heroes, which in this case we have a Lore Master and Prince Althron here for the High Elves hanging out. So Prince Althron is my general. So your general actually gets an additional ability he can use in the command phase, in the hero phase, instead of his own ability. So he can use Inspiring Presence, where he'll pick a unit anywhere within 12 inches, and that unit does not have to take battle shock tests. So if they lose models, it doesn't matter, they won't run away. But they can only use one, so he does have his own command ability called Glory of the Elves. So if he uses this, then until my next hero phase, I can reroll all hit rolls of 1 for all highborn units from your army within 8 inches. So he'll activate that. And then my Lore Master is a wizard, so he also, in the hero phase, you can cast spells. The way you cast a spell is you choose what spell you're going to cast. So in this case, he'll cast Mystic Shield on my left unit of archers. So Mystic Shield has a casting value of 6. So the way spells work in this edition is you just take 2 dice, roll them. If you get the result, it passed, the spell goes through. If you don't, it fails. So it passed, so my archers will have Mystic Shield, which increases their save by 1. Now, if the opponent has a wizard within range of your caster, they can actually try to unbind the spell by taking their 2d6 and beating your roll. So if he did have a wizard, which he doesn't, because this is just a demo match, he could take these 2d6, roll them, and if he got higher than my 10, he would cancel out my spell, but he does not do so. So that's all I can do in the hero phase. Other units sometimes might have abilities, but in this case, none of my guys have anything fancy, so won't happen. Next up is your movement phase. So each model has its own movement characteristic in inches. So for example, Swordmasters can move 6 inches. So I can measure out 6 inches and they can move that far. And then they have multiple choices from there. They can either run, where if they run, they can roll a d6 and add that to their movement characteristic for that turn. So if I was running with my Swordmasters, for example, because I can, so 6 inches plus 4, so they can go a total of 10 inches if I want. So we'll kind of just brace the line up here, you know, not go too far. So you just got to make sure it's within their movement range, which it very much is, because, you know, they can move pretty far. So on and so forth. Move all your models. Get them all in where they're supposed to be. Prince Althron moves. He'll go up there. And this guy will... Master will hang out there. So, after movement is done, you move on to the shooting phase, where anything that can shoot and within range can make an attack. So the archers, for example, have a range of 20, so you can check range. So they can't hit anybody, which is why the Tomb King had him go first, otherwise they would have to get out. So, no shooting in this current phase. Also, a model can't shoot if they retreated or ran in the previous phase, in the movement phase. So, but since they didn't run, they didn't retreat, they would have been able to shoot, but I have nothing to shoot. Next is the combat phase, where you take turns piling in, nothing to do there. So let's get this further on so we can see what's going on. So we'll switch to the Tomb Kings. Their models, skeletons, have a movement characteristic of, I want to say 4. They're actually a lot slower than the elves. Elves can move 6, you know. So they can only go 4 inches, which doesn't go very far. So the skeletons are actually going to run their models, so their big unit's going to run. And they get to go an extra 4 inches, so they'll go up 8 inches. So they'll get to about there. So just grab them, move them on up, and so on and so forth. So continue running. 2. Sorry. And 1. So they will actually enter the trees to kind of protect themselves. And a whopping 5 inches. So they don't move very far either. And that's really all the skeletons can do this turn, because just move up. So High Elves turn 2. They're definitely in range to shoot now. So we'll just kind of, you know, start with our hero phase. So Prince Althron will Glory of the High Elves again. So rerolls of ones on to hit. Is his command ability within 8 inches of him. So which all his units are within 8. So he's fine. And Lore Master, so because he's a wizard, can cast spells. So this turn he'll actually cast an Arcane Bolt, which has a casting value of 5. So he takes his 2 dice, rolls them. He gets a 7, which lands it. So what Arcane Bolt does is you pick a unit with an 18, which he will choose the fat, large, scary unit of skeletons, and suffer a d3 of mortal wounds. So 2. So in this game, mortal wounds and wounds, they use the same term. Wounds you can save against, but mortal wounds can't be saved against unless you have something that specifically says it saves against mortal wounds. So the skeletons will lose 2 warriors, which we'll mark there for later in the turn. And that's it for my hero phase. So then we move on to the second phase of the game, which is movement. So my sword masters, we're going to kind of hold off. So skeletons can only go 4. So let's see. There. So if the skeletons want to charge, they're still going to need to roll a 10. So we're pretty safe where we are. We'll just kind of reinforce our line a little bit. Just kind of move up so that way we're ready for them. And let's show them how elves shoot, right? So no more movements. So we will go into the shooting phase. Now, elf archers have a range of 20 inches with their longbows, so they easily can, shoot who they need to shoot. I guess that guy can't. Alright, so one guy on the left side can't. But, so we'll go ahead and shoot. So you look at the missile weapon, which for them is a silverwood longbow. They have 1 attack each, and they hit on 4s. So we'll start on this unit over here, and let's target the big old block, because we just don't want that rolling in. So, 5, 6, 8, and 10. So looking for 4s. So we check what's next, which is to hit. So we roll to hit. We need 4s. Remember, we reroll 1s because of that ability. And pull the misses. So we don't get to keep rerolling 1s because in Sigmar there is the rule of 1s, where you can't just, keep re-rolling over and over. Once something's been re-rolled, it can't be modified again. So these all hit. And to wound, we need 4s. So we roll again. And only 1 wound. So then you check the rend, which elf arrows have a rend of 0. So no rend. So we go to the saves on our skeleton warriors. So our skeleton warriors have their crypt shields, so you add 1 to a save roll for a unit with it. So they're normally 6, so they save on 5 up. So we roll, and that's a 5, so he saves. Archers are worthless. Well, that unit they missed. So next unit, they will also attack all but 1 of them because he can't reach. 7, 8, 9. Looking for 4s. And that's 3 misses. Looking for 4s again to wound. So 3 wounds. Skeletons are looking for 5s. And 1 save, but 2 more die. So okay. That's the end of the shooting phase. So after shooting is charges, which I don't think my sword masters are even in range to charge. Nope. So, wouldn't want to anyway. We'll let them come a little further. There's a lot of skeletons out there. So, Battle Shock. So, any units that lost models have to take a Battle Shock test, which is our Skeleton Warriors. So, they've lost 1, 2, 3, 4 models. And they have a bravery. So, you check their bravery for Battle Shock, which they have a bravery of 10. So, then you roll your d6. And you add the number of lost models to that roll, and for every number it beats your bravery by, one model flees the battle, and it's counted as lost or dead. So, because they have bravery of 10, I had to kill more than 4 for them to even think of running away, or because they're skeletons, 8th edition, they crumbled. So, because skeletons are mindless, they're not going to run. They just kind of, fall apart, the magic holding them together. So, nothing happens. We go to the skeletons' turn, which they are 13 away. So, they would need a... So, -4 is a 9. So, this unit is going to move up there 4. They're not going to run, because if you run, you can't charge. So, keep that in mind. So there. The other ones are nowhere near, so they're going to run. So left one can move 5 inches and 5 inches. So skeletons are creeping up slowly, as skeletons do. So they all get to there. And there. Nothing else for them, so we go to the High Elves again. So the hero phase. So here's where it's going to get interesting. Is now we got to make the choice. We could do that reroll 1s or inspiring presence. We're going to go reroll 1s with an 8. And our lore master will cast Mystic Shield on our sword masters. So magic once again, 2 dice, roll them, looking for 6 or higher. We get a 9. So sword masters have Mystic Shield on them. So +1 to their save, which is really good. Then we move on to movement. So we don't want those skeletons really getting into our archers. So it's time to go meet them in battle. So we have a movement of 6, which gets us to about there. But we do need to stay 3 inches away from enemy models at all times. That's just the kind of rule of the game, is you got to be 3 inches away, because otherwise you're considered in combat, and we'll see in a second how those rules work. So we're good. Prince Althron, you're going to come up too, buddy, because why not? We need you to be with your dudes. So... And for terrain, it kind of counts as, a half an inch to get up and over, something this size. So Lore Master can go 6, but in this case, he can only go about 5 because of the wall he's going to hop over. So that's it for the movement phase. So we will go into shooting phase. So... make sure you check your units, because sometimes they have special abilities. So High Elf Archers can actually do a storm of arrows once per battle. And when they do, they double the number of shots they make. So, pretty confident my Sword Masters will cut through that, but I do have these guys coming out of the woods. So we're going to storm of arrows on them, because they're definitely arrow-worthy. So instead of 10 shots, we're actually going to do 20 shots, because that's what the ability says. 5, 8, 9, 10. Okay. And the unit is still within 8 of Althron. So we are rerolling 1s, looking for 4s. So, miss. Pull out all the misses now. So if you and your opponent are working together, you know your opponent can pull hits for you, and you pull misses. That way, there's no tampering. And then to wound, they need 4s. So we're looking at a total of 3 wounds, 5 up save for the skeletons. So 2 more die. And we'll pull. So, and the player who lost the units, they decide where they pull from, not the one who killed them. So, you know, I could pull from the front, pull from the back. We're going to pull from from there. This unit will also Storm of Arrows. So, same thing. 8, 9, 10, 14, 18, 19, 20. So, looking for 4s, re-rolling those 1s. Possibly. Let's see. There's Ulthron. Yep, they're in range. So pull all those misses. And for 4s. Much better. This unit is much better than our first archers. And saves, looking for 5s or higher. 1, 2, 3 saves, but we lose 4. They lose 4 skeletons. So blah, blah, blah. Okay. So that is everything on my side that has shot. So we will actually move into our charges. First charge we'll declare is with the Swordmasters. So you roll 2d6 when you're going to charge. So total of 5 inches my Swordmasters can move. So definitely can't make it out to those guys, but we will definitely make it into combat with our skeleton friends. Okay. We will roll with the Lore Master next, so he will charge. And that's not going to do anything for him. And Ulthran. Total of 8 inches, huh? Definitely can't get there. Can he make it? He can make it up to there. Okay. So after the charge phase is close combat. The way close combat works is you pick a unit within 3 inches of an enemy unit, and they can attack with their melee weapons. And so player whose turn it is picks the unit to attack with first, and you go back and forth. So I will start with my Swordmasters. So this is where, you know, I could pick Prince Ulthron or I could pick the Swordmasters, but as you hopefully will see, Swordmasters are just monsters, and hopefully there'll be a lot less return attacks from these skeletons because we'll cut them down. So you can pile in up to 3 inches towards the closest enemy model. Cool. Okay. So let's check out what our Swordmasters can do. These guys are beasts. Okay, so they have 2 attacks each. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. And the Blade Lord, this red guy, makes 1 extra attack. So we're looking at 21 attacks. So here's 20. Almost. There's 21 dice. Looking for 3s, re-rolling 1s. Pull those misses. And then 3s to wound. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 14 wounds. So do they have a rend? They have a rend of -1. Skeletons have a 6-up because their tube shields only give +1 if there's no rend, which there is. So 6-up becomes a 7-up, which you can't get on a 6-sided dice. So that's 14 dead skeletons. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I kind of goofed on the pulls because, you know, strategically pull, you can pull away so this guy can't pile in, but Prince Althron will sweep up. So now it's the opponent's turn to pile in an attack. So he has 2 skeleton warriors left. So they have ancient blades, so they make 1 attack each. So 2 attacks. Looking for 4s. Gets them. Wound on 4s. Gets 1 of them. There's no rend though. So against the Swordmaster's save of 4-up, Mystic Shield brings it to a 3-up. So on a 1 or 2, he dies. And that was the only thing I didn't want to roll. So we have 1 dead Swordmaster. So at least they did something back. So that's good. Now it is my turn to pick a unit if they're within 3 to pile in again. So Prince Althron is. So he'll roll on in there and probably finish off these skeletons. So he has 4 attacks. Looking for 3s. And forced to wound. 1 wound, no rend, so a 5-up. And the skeleton saves, so it sticks in combat. I don't believe these skeletons are they within 3? They are not. So no pile in for them. So that is the end of the combat phase. Next up is battle shock tests. So skeleton warriors lost 14 models, so they'll take a battle shock test. 6 plus 14 is 20, so yeah, we knew those guys were going to crumble. So they're gone. These ones lost 4, so they can't actually crumble anymore because a 6 will just bring them their bravery of 10. And Swordmasters, we lost 1 Swordmaster, so their bravery is 7. So even if we rolled a 6, they would not run. Now it is the skeleton's turn. So let's see what they do. So they'll move in closer. Looks like they're going to try and kill some archers. So they'll need a 5. Yeah, 5 to get there. And these ones, pretty sure want to avoid the Swordmasters, so they'll move to there. And no shooting, so they'll charge. So the ones by the archers first. Roll a 7. They only needed a 5, so they will definitely make it to the wall. So you'll see a great outline on the around the wall. That's because it counts as a cover area. So units, if you're, majority of your models are occupying a terrain piece, they get a bonus to their armor save by +1. So skeletons won't because they charge this turn, but both units will get bonuses to the save on the turn after. But for this turn, just the archers kind of use the wall as protection. So our other skeletons will charge. Total of 6 inches they can go. So they will actually go and swarm the Lore Master. So combat phase. So here's where it gets interesting. So because multiple things are in combat, right? So skeletons have to decide where they're going to do the most damage, probably. So chances are they're probably not killing the lore master in this assault. So they're going to decide to see if they can murder some archers first. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 skeleton warriors armed with their swords. So 6, 7, 8. Looking for 4s to hit those good old archers. 4s again to wound. So 1 wound. So archers have a save of 6. But because they are occupying the cover, they get +1. So looking at 5s. Doesn't help them though. So 1 dead archer. Attacks back. I'm going to choose the lore master because that'll be less skeletons attacking me. So he has a great sword with 2 attacks. Looking for 3s to hit. 1 reroll. Is he within 8? I don't know if he is. No, he's not. So 1 hit. Rolled a wound. Looking for 3s. Gets it. Rend of -1. Skeletons can't save that. So 1 dead skeleton, which they'll kill that one. Skeleton's turn. They can pile in up to 3 inches to the closest enemy. So he'll hop over there. Keep himself away from the sword masters. So 5 attacks on the lore master. Looking for 4s. 4s again to wound him. So all wounds, no rend though, and he has a 4-up save. So looking for a 4 to not get wounded. So saves 2, gets wounded by 1. So we'll mark our lore master because he's been wounded. Okay. Next up is the elves, who will pile in. So archers have 1 attack each. So looking at 10 attacks. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Looking for 5s. Not so good in melee combat, these archers are. 5s again to wound. That's 1 wound against the 5-up save. So 1 dead skeleton. Okay. So they've attacked, they've attacked, they've attacked, they've attacked. So everything that can attack has. So we move on to Battle Shock. And players whose turn it is tests first. So the skeletons who can't break, they didn't lose enough. Now Lore Master, he's 1 guy, so he's not breaking. But we do have to battle test for the archers. 1 plus 1 is 2 out of their bravery of 6, so they're fine. Okay. So now it is the High Elves' turn. So Hero Phase. Prince Althran will do his Call of the High Elves. And the Lore Master will cast Arcane Bolt on the warriors who are swarming him. So 2 dice. Easily gets it. D3 of mortal wounds. So that is 2 dead skeletons. Okay. And on to movement. Prince Altheron will move there. And the Swordmasters will move there as well. And after movement is shooting. So even though you're based, you can still actually shoot in Sigmar. That's the difference between this and 8th edition. 8th edition, you're locked up, no shooting, but in Sigmar, nothing says otherwise, and you can shoot armed with your missile weapons. So 9 shots, and the unit is within range of Prince Altheron. So let's see how they do. Ready for 4s. Rerolling 1s. And 4s. So 2 wounds, 5 up save. 1 save, but 1 dead. Okay. Our other archers will unload on the 3 now. Yep. So looking at 10 attacks. Move for 4s. Fours again. And that is a total of 4 wounds, 5 up save, 3 dead skeletons. After that is charge. So Prince Altheron's going to charge. Easily gets it. Roll there. Roll for the Swordmasters. 3, huh? That might not make it. Nope. So, if a model can't make it, one of your models, when you charge, at least has to make it within half an inch of an enemy model to make it a proper charge. So, because he's definitely not making it, it's over 3. Their charge fails. When charge fails, nothing happens. You just can't move. Okay. So combat phase, player whose turn it is picks first. I will say Prince Altheron's going to attack first. I'm pretty sure he can do better than the others. So he has 4 attacks. Hitting on 3s. So 2 hits. Wounding on 4s. 1 wound. Save from the skeletons. Nope, that's 2 damage. So 2 more dead skeletons. Skeleton player will attack back, targeting the archers. Not very good. 1 wound, and the save is successful. And archers will pile in, so they can go 3 inches towards the closest model. So unfortunately all of them can't get in there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 attacks. Not bad. 1 wound. Save from the skeleton is a failure. And 1 more dead skeleton. So didn't lose enough to break, so nothing happens. And you basically got the point. These skeletons are gonna get slaughtered next turn, most likely. There's not really, unless they have god rolls, aren't going to make it. So, but that's the general idea of on how you play Age of Sigmar. As you can see, it's a much faster paced game. You're not so bogged down by terrain because each model individually moves, like in 40k. And yeah, you know, it's cool. You can shoot before you charge, which is great. Heroes are, you know, really nice on the battlefield and tons of synergy. Yeah, So remember the 6 steps of Sigmar. Turn is hero phase, where you cast spells, use heroic abilities. Movement phase, where you move your units across the battlefield. Shooting phase, self-explanatory, where you shoot. Charging, where a unit rolls 2d6 and can charge that number in inches. A combat phase, where you can pile in up to 3 inches and attack with all melee weapons. And then your battle shock phase to decide who's running away or if your unit stays and stuff. Hope you enjoy the video. Thanks for tuning in. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, what you guys want to see next. I'll also have in the description where we have all this stuff. This is on Tabletop Simulator, which if you haven't played Tabletop Sim, it's amazing. Great game. And yeah, this is a mod I've thrown together. We got all the armies, Empire, Dwarves, Daemons, Warriors, you name it. It's all here. It's all fun to play. I play this. We play on the actual tabletop, like, board itself. I'm a High Elf and Lizardmen player, and Warhammer is just an amazing game. So if you were on the cusp about getting in, you know, this tabletop sim, it's a great way to get in, get an idea on how it works. And I hope you learned something today. Have a good one. Bye-bye now.